Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the GLP-1 free workshop, your next chapter, how to transition off of GLP-1s without losing control. If you've never been to a workshop before, just a couple of housekeeping items before we dive in tonight. There's a lot of really good information to cover. But if you have questions as we're going through the material, I highly encourage you to share those questions in the question box that you have. And if we have time at the end, I will make sure to answer them here live. In the event that I don't, when I follow up with you at the end of this workshop with the recording of today's presentation, I will also include answers to all of the questions that you ask to make sure that I address those correctly. So be sure to pop those questions in as we go. The other thing I want to make abundantly clear about this presentation in particular, we're talking about GLP-1s, we're talking about their usage, we're talking about coming off of them. At no point during the course of this presentation do I want you to make the assumption that I am arguing for you to come off of these medications. If you're here, it's because you're taking them, you're thinking about taking them, or you're thinking about coming off of them. And I am not arguing for you to do one thing or the other. My goal today is to share with you the knowledge that we have about the way these medications work and what happens when you come off of them, so that should you decide between yourself and your doctor collectively, should you decide to transition off of these medications for one reason or another, that you have a game plan, that you have a strategy that you can implement to overcome the common fears that I've seen in individuals who transition off of these medications. That is my goal for you today. But who am I to be talking on this subject? My name is Alex McBurdy. I've been a full-time fitness coach for 12 plus years, coaching specifically sustainable fat loss. My background is in psychology. So all of the coaching that I do takes into account the psychology of behavior change. That's going to play a role here today. But more importantly is that I help people with their results after they've been on GLP-1s. We are the bridge during the transition of them coming off of GLP-1s for one reason or another and being able to protect the results that they saw once the medication is no longer in their system. I've also personally lost nearly 100 pounds and kept it off for nearly 2 decades. And I authored the book Your Next Chapter, Thriving After Semaglutide and GLP-1, which is the cover there, available on Amazon. This is the playbook for how to transition off of GLP-1 medications. This is what me and my team specialize in. And today I'm going to give you a snapshot of that roadmap to get you started, to build your confidence. And so that, again, if you decide to come off of GLP-1 medications, you know exactly what you need to do. Let's dive in. Quick recap for those of us, this may be familiar because obviously you're taking these medications, but what do GLP-1 meds do to aid in weight loss specifically? And there's really three core components. The first is it's going to lower your appetite. It's going to lower the hunger hormones that make you feel hungry so that you have less desire for food. That is crucial in helping us manage our eating to achieve that weight loss. But not only does it lower our appetite and desire for food, but it also slows down the digestive process. So once we've eaten food, it stays in our stomach longer, and that contributes to the feeling of fullness that allows us to go longer without eating, or allows us to eat less and still feel satisfied. But one of the biggest and most often talked about and also elusive benefits of GLP-1 medications is that it quiets the food noise in your brain. That constant volume, the chatter, the static noise that's thinking about food, that's considering food, that's desiring food, those cravings. It quiets all of that noise, like turning down a dial, so that you can think more clearly, so you're not as bombarded with thoughts about food. And these three benefits combined, a lower appetite, slower digestion, and less food noise, are the biggest benefits to why people see such great weight loss results while taking these medications. So that's all of the good news. But now we're talking about this transition off of GLP-1 medications. So those are the benefits we get while we're taking it. Why might someone even consider coming off? Those are all really great benefits. And why would anyone want to come off these medications? What are some reasons that they might stay on the medications? If there's an ongoing medical need, In some cases, individuals with certain autoimmune disorders find that the use of these GLP-1 medications actually reduces their symptoms that they experience in other medical conditions. And that is a very prominent reason to continue taking them. If appetite regulation is difficult without the medication, that is again a reason why some people might stay on and continue to confer the benefits of that reduced appetite. The mental relief from food noise. Some people find that they just cannot find a way to deal with those nagging thoughts around food. And so staying on the medication helps control that. If your doctor has recommended long-term use of this medication, naturally that is a something to consider. And some individuals find it just improves their quality of life with minimal side effects, and there's no reason for them to come off. And if any of those are true, then that's fantastic. Continue taking the medication. But the rest of our conversation is about people who have to transition off for one reason or another, maybe because of cost or insurance changes. Maybe you no longer get the discounted price of these medications, and it's simply too costly to pay the hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars every single month to get these meds. Maybe you experience negative side effects that don't resolve with time. And I've seen a gauntlet of different side effects from not very severe, just slight allergic reaction around the injection site, a little bit of rash and itchiness, all the way to constant states of nausea and vomiting and fatigue that greatly impacted that person's quality of life negatively. And so sometimes if the side effects are so severe, you may transition off these medications. If you're pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, or for other medical reasons in which your doctor has encouraged or advised you to stop taking the medication, that is yet another reason why you might transition off. If you personally have reached your weight loss goal and now you have a desire to not be reliant on these medications, you have a desire for greater autonomy and control over your lifestyle, and you want to find a way to maintain your results without the continued use of medication. Maybe for you, it was always a short-term plan to use the medication to help boost the weight loss, and then you were going to learn how to maintain it on your own. These are all great reasons why you might want to make the decision to transition off. If you're transitioning off, it's important to understand what these medications don't do. They don't teach you what to do when the hunger comes back. When you stop taking the medication and your appetite returns to normal, it doesn't teach you how to control that. It doesn't give you a plan for what to do to help manage your nutrition in the absence of those benefits. GLP-1 medications do not teach you how to overcome stress or emotional eating. You may eat for stress or emotions less as a result of the lower appetite and the quieting of the food noise while you're taking the medication, but it does not teach you how to master or overcome these challenges in its absence. And these medications certainly do not help you build the exercise habits that are ultimately going to help you prolong the results that you achieved while taking the medications. So it's important to understand what these meds don't do, because whatever the medications don't do, we still have to come up with a plan to address, so that we don't risk a common thing that you may hear and see in the media, which is individuals who have taken these medications, prominent figures like Oprah, who took the medication, lost the weight, and as soon as they stopped, gained all the weight back. That is the most common fear that people have when they think about transitioning off these medications. And it's because they didn't have a plan for what to do during and after the transition. Oprah talked in interviews about how she gained 20 pounds in the weeks following ending the use of her GLP-1 because she didn't have a plan. If we rely on the medication to do all of the work, then the habits will not be in place that allow you to maintain that in their absence. And that is the most important thing I want you to take away from today's presentation. GLP-1 medications help create the conditions for change: the lower appetite, the slow digestion, the quieting of the food noise. But they do not replace the lifestyle changes that are a requirement to maintain those results. The exercise habits, the food plan, the awareness around your stress and emotional eating tendencies. But that's what our transition plan is going to help you develop. It's going to help you develop those lifestyle changes so that you can thrive after your use of these medications. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the best way to leverage the use of these medications, knowing that you're eventually going to transition off, which is leveraging the benefits you're experiencing to give you a head start in creating those lifestyle changes. If you can build the exercise routines, if you can build the food plan and the food awareness and the understanding of your nutrition, if you can address the stress and emotional eating triggers, while you have the benefit of the lessened severity of those challenges because of the medication use, then you're setting yourself up for long-term success because now you're putting the proper foundation in place so that as you transition off the medications, you're already set to carry out those behaviors. Now, what might this look like if we're really utilizing these medications for that powerful head start? If we have less food noise, it makes it easier to start learning about our nutrition and to how to maintain a healthier diet because we're not as bogged down by those cravings. If we have a smaller appetite, it's easier to build the structure around our lifestyle, around our work schedule, around our family schedule, so that we know how to implement healthy meals in the chaos of our life while we have that smaller appetite. And if seeing the weight come off after using GLP-1s gives us more confidence, then that allows us to have greater follow through with all of these behaviors. I want to reiterate this. The best use for long-term success of GLP-1 medications, if you know you're going to transition off, or if you at any point desire to transition off, is to leverage the benefits you're experiencing on the medication to make it easier to build the lifestyle habits that are going to allow you to maintain those results. If you take anything away from today's presentation, I want you to have that. But now we're ready to transition off. What are the very real barriers to that? Some of this we already alluded to. The physical barriers, our appetite returns to that pre-medication level. So now we're hungrier than we're used to. And whenever there's hunger, there's the potential that we're going to overeat. We have to learn how to control that. The ability to eat larger quantities. Now that our digestive system isn't slowed down, food processes through our system faster, we can eat more frequently and we can eat larger quantities. It risks us overeating, falling back into those old habits. The food noise returns if we don't have a way to control our cravings. And they return, we're more likely to fall prey to them, and that's going to lead to weight gain. It's natural when you're coming off of these medications to experience a little bit of weight fluctuation. You might see a few pounds come back on pretty shortly after you stop the meds, and that's a completely normal part of transitioning off. A lot of it is water weight, a lot of it is other factors. But if we don't understand this and we don't have the proper expectation, those weight fluctuations can really eat away at us and cause us to make poorer choices. Because that leads us to the mental challenges that come when we're transitioning off. The fear of weight regain being the biggest challenge of them all, which is we're so afraid to regain the weight. So when we see the weight fluctuations, that triggers that fear in our mind, and we start to take behaviors that aren't helpful because we think they're going to save us. Over-exercising, starving ourselves, all of the things that end up backfiring. Mentally, we might feel loss of control now that that food noise has come back. We may have gotten used to not having the power of those cravings dragging us along. And as that craving returns, we feel like we're losing that control. We don't have any established routines around exercise, around our meals, because we relied on the benefits of the medications to string along all of our results. And most importantly, if we have no transition plan, which we're going to solve for you today, but if you don't have a transition plan, that is a huge barrier to being able to maintain your results. So there are both physical and mental challenges to transitioning off of these medications. But now let's talk about how to transition smoothly. This is going to be your roadmap. This is what we cover in the book, Your Next Chapter. So, how to maintain your weight loss after the use of medications. And it's 5 steps. The first is you have to set expectations. You have to know what's going to happen when you come off the medication so that you're prepared for it, so that you have a plan for it. Having a simple nutrition framework so that you understand how nutrition works and you understand what you need to do to maintain those results. And we have a very specific nutrition framework that we use for the clients that we work with. It's called the Food Freedom Framework. And this simplifies nutrition. It helps free us of the diet hamster wheel of all the fad diets and trends that you might see online. And it allows you to focus on just the changes that actually make a difference. Whether you use the Food Freedom Framework, whether you use something else, it needs to be simple and you need to have a very clear system for how you're going to manage your eating when the appetite comes back. Continuing to build your food awareness. This is related not only to emotional eating, but also knowing when to stop, understanding the difference between fullness and being satisfied after a meal. We need to build movement habits. If you're on GLP-1 medications, then you know one of the biggest risk factors is a loss of muscle. We need to have a plan in place to not only build and maintain that muscle, but also to generally keep you active to keep the weight controlled. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is getting the right support throughout this entire journey. Because at any point along the path, it's easy for these things to break down, for you to slip back into old habits. And that's going to spell disaster if you want to maintain your results. So, what do we mean when we say set expectations? We need to understand that hunger returning is normal. Your appetite's going to come back. The food noise is going to come back. Your ability to eat larger quantities is going to come back. Your weight may fluctuate, and that's normal. All of these things are to be expected. And it's an adjustment period because you're used to not having to worry about that. Understanding that it's normal that these things come back is crucial to help you understand that you're not failing, that it's not your body being broken. Because once you stop the medication, the benefits go away. And this can alleviate a lot of the mental struggles that people feel initially when they stop use. The simple nutrition framework. I already alluded to the Food Freedom Framework, which is the one that we use. But a couple of specific things that are required is prioritizing protein. Because again, we know that muscle loss is very real on GLP-1 medications. And the more muscle we have, the easier it is to maintain our body weight at a healthy range. So prioritizing protein in every single meal. If you haven't already been doing this on the medications, I encourage you to start this immediately. Especially when you have the lower appetite, when you can't eat as much food, it's extra important that you're getting protein first because this is crucial to avoid that muscle loss that we know happens on these medications. But more than that, it's keeping the meals repeatable and simple. This might happen naturally on the medication when you have the lower appetite and less desire for food. You might just do what's easy, but also maintaining some resemblance of that when the appetite returns. How can you prep your meals for the week? How can you keep them relatively the same so that you know exactly what you need to eat every day to avoid the triggers and the mishaps that come with not having a plan? I want to emphasize that this needs to be simple because a lot of popular trendy diets come with all these food rules and all these restrictions and limitations. And there's so many things you have to balance that it almost becomes a second part-time job. And if your diet is difficult to follow, you will not follow it. We need to keep it simple. So starting with prioritizing your protein, keeping your meals repeatable and simple. But having a good nutrition plan isn't enough. We also have to start building the awareness around our food. Ideally, you've started this while you're on the medications so that those habits stick with you when you transition off. But even if you haven't and you're transitioning off, you can start now to build that food awareness. And the way you do that is by tracking your intake. Keep a food log. There's great free apps you can use this for. MyFitnessPal is a very popular one, as an example, that allows you to enter all the food you're eating, enter all the quantities so that you can very clearly see how much you're eating. This is one of the best things you can do to manage your nutrition and to build your awareness around your diet is to track what you're doing. But also, again, we've been talking about recognizing this difference between full and satisfied. And a simple way to understand this is fullness is when you've eaten so much that you feel physically uncomfortable and you don't feel like you could eat anymore without getting sick. That's being full. But the thing about being full, which a lot of us mistake as required to know that we've eaten a satisfactory meal, is that fullness is a sign that you've overdone it. What we're really aiming for is satisfied. And you may have heard this expressed differently: eat till you're 80% full, eat until you can stop thinking about food. Satisfied is the point where you could have room for more, but if you stopped, you wouldn't be distracted by hunger. Now, this takes a little bit of practice to understand where that point is for you and being able to listen to those cues. But understanding this fundamental difference is crucial for long-term success. One of the ways we can start to rebuild this, because some of us might struggle with understanding our hunger cues, we might not have any experience, we might have a blunted response to our hunger cues, we generally just don't have them, is a tool that we use, and I talk about this in the book, the hunger scale, which is anytime you're sitting down to eat, rating on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being starving, 1 being not at all hungry, rating how hungry you actually feel. And the practice of using this hunger scale is meant to fine tune your ability to recognize these signals in your body so you have a more appropriate understanding of how much food you need at any particular meal. We can start with all these things right now. My recommendation is to start by tracking your intake to begin building food awareness. Movement habits. We need to be exercising. And the challenges in today's society, and especially in Western society, it's so easy to stay sedentary. We can do everything without moving, without exercising. So we need to begin building a habit. And the best way to build a habit around exercise and movement is to do it as frequently as possible. So moving in some capacity every single day. This could be walking. This could be light stretching or yoga. It could be a gym workout. It could be a cardio workout. It could be a combination of these things throughout the week. Whatever it is, moving your body in some way every single day helps rapidly build the habit so that it becomes a part of your lifestyle, something you don't even think about. Imagine that for a second. Imagine going through your day and you know you're going to exercise because it's just a part of who you are. It doesn't feel like a struggle or like a burden or like a chore. It just feels as automatic as brushing your teeth in the morning. That's ideally the point we want to get to. We've been talking a lot about muscle loss and prioritizing protein. That also comes with prioritizing strength training 2 to 3 times per week. This is going to allow you to build more muscle, which is going to help you maintain your body weight. It's going to help preserve muscle so you don't lose it, whether you're still on the medications or completely off. And I put an asterisk by this because that's how important it is to strength train. This is one of the best things you can do for your long-term health is to start lifting weights. And when we're talking about exercise, I want to make it very clear. We're talking about building consistency around these activities, not so much worried about the intensity or the amount of calories that you're burning. Because no single intense workout is going to make or break your ability to not gain weight. It's the pattern of repeated exercise over a period of time that's ultimately going to decide whether you stay a healthy body weight or whether it slowly starts to creep back on. Nevertheless, we need to establish movement habits. And lastly, and again, I said this earlier, most importantly, we need the right support. It is a big transition coming from GLP-1 medications, transitioning off. And the longer you've been on the medications and the more weight you've lost, it's an even bigger transition because now you have to deal with those hunger cues, those hunger cravings. You have to deal with that food noise coming back. Having accountability to continue building the lifestyle changes is crucial to ensure you keep doing it. And knowing that you have a plan designed for you and for this particular period of your health journey, transitioning off of GLP-1 medications, that is addressing the potential concerns that are going to come up, that helps you overcome the challenges that we know are going to happen as you transition, can make or break your abilities to successfully transition off without gaining any weight. So if you don't have support yet, support from your doctor is crucial, but support from a qualified fitness coach is also a huge part of this. And I can't recommend it enough. Is it possible for you to succeed without the help of a fitness coach? 100%. We've seen people do it, but it's much more difficult. So you're better off establishing a plan, starting to build these routines, having that accountability so that you know all the money you spent on the medications, all the time you spent on it is not going to be for nothing because you're going to be able to maintain those results. That is our roadmap. We need to know the expectations, set the expectations of what you're going to experience when you come off. Have a simple nutrition framework so that you know what you need to be doing. Building your food awareness to combat stress and emotional eating. Developing the movement habits that keep you moving and active every single day and getting the right support. And if you are thinking about transitioning off of GLP-1 medications, or you're ready to transition off of the medications, or maybe you've already started, or you've recently transitioned off the medications, then we want to help you do it right. So what I recommend, scan this QR code. We want to offer everyone that's a part of this workshop, either live or watching the replay, to book a free consultation with me and my team, because this is exactly the thing that we specialize in. Helping you transition off of the medication so that you can maintain control and avoid weight gain. And if you want a no pressure way to see how we can help you in your specific circumstances, scan that QR code and book your free consultation with us because we are standing by and we would love to help you out. And even if you're not ready, if you don't think you're ready for support from a qualified coach who's going to help lead you through this process, so that you maintain your results over the long term, even without the medications, then my recommendation is to grab a copy of the book, Your Next Chapter, Thriving After Semaglutide and GLP-1 Medications. You can find that on Amazon. You can search the title. You'll see that cover on Amazon. That gives you the entire playbook with all of the tools and the resources you need to successfully transition off. Whatever path you take, it's my hope that we're able to give you the resources that you need to do this successfully, to do it relatively hassle-free, because ultimately we want you to maintain the changes that you saw that helped you feel more confident, that helped you feel healthier, less lethargic, to have more energy. And we want to make sure that you don't fall back into those old patterns. I thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. We covered a lot of information in a very short period of time. Make sure you book your free consultation call or grab your copy of the book, Your Next Chapter. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to answer the questions here live, but I will make sure that I respond to them in that follow-up email with each of you that I'm going to send shortly after we put this recording online. And I want to thank you again and good luck with your transition off of GLP-1 medications.